Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjavi. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nita Gora Haribol, 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 Nita Gora Haribol. Gora Pimanandi. Hakuhari, das Prabhu. Kannst du vielleicht Balaram nicht auf den Boden stellen? Okay. Vielen, vielen Dank. Danke dir. Okay. Now the question is, in which language we are going to do this? Wir müssen uns fragen, in welcher Sprache wir heute den Vortrag geben. Because we have a guest who speaks English. So we should, guests are always the highest priority for a temple. So I don't know. Kann jemand für Kishori-Kund übersetzen? Ja? Geht das? Okay, so then we do in English because, you know, we have to give priority to our guests. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, so today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 30, Text 7. So everyone is fine now? Everyone is sorted? Everyone can understand? Yeah? Okay. Good. The chapter is entitled Description of Adverse Fruitive Activities. And good news is we also have that verse on the board. Okay. Sandayamana Savanga Isham Udva Hanadina Karoti Aviratam Mudo Duritani Durashchaya Sandayamana Savanga Isham Udvahanadina Karotya Viratam Mudo Duritani Durashchayaha Sandayamana Savanga Isham Udvahanadina Karoti Aviratam Mudo Duritani Durashchayaha. Karoti Aviratam Mudo Duritani Durashayana. Vaishnavis? Sandayamana Savanga Ishamudvahanadina Karoti viratam mudo Duitani durashaya Sandayamana burning Sava all Anga his limbs Esham these family members Utvahana for maintaining Adina with anxiety Karoti he performs Aviratam always Mudaha the fool Duritani sinful activities Durashayaha evil-minded. Translation. Although he is always burning with anxiety, such a fool always performs all kinds of mischievous activities with a hope which is never to be fulfilled in order to maintain his so-called family and society. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. It is said that it is easier to maintain a great empire than to maintain a small family, especially in these days when the influence of Kali Yuga is so strong that everyone is harassed and full of anxiety because of accepting the false presentation of Maya's family. The family we maintain is created by Maya. It is the perverted reflection of the family in Krishna Loka. In Krishna Loka, there are also family, friends, society, father and mother. Everything is there, but they are eternal. Here, as we change bodies, our family relationships also change. Sometimes we are in a family of human beings, sometimes in a family of demigods, sometimes a family of cats, or sometimes a family of dogs. Family, society, and friendship are flickering, and so they are called asat. It is said that as long as we are attached to this asat, temporary, non-existing society and family, we are always full of anxieties. The materialists do not know that the family, society, and friendship here in this material world are only shadows, and thus they become attached. Naturally, their hearts are always burning, but in spite of all inconvenience, they still work to maintain such false families because they have no information of the real family association with Krishna. Omakyana Timirandasya Kilanjana Shalakaya Shakshu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Ukram Viram Mahavishnu Jalatam Savatomukam Nisimham Vishanam Bhatram Mityum Namamyaham Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay. So, this is a very, very wonderful verse that is relevant to all of us. Or maybe it's not, because it's speaking about, wie soll man sagen, it speaks about materialists who are burning with anxiety because they engage in materialistic activities. So maybe it's not for us, huh? Because we live in the temple. What do you think? Maybe it's not for us. Maybe we should call it a day and close Bhagavatam and move on to another verse. Huh? No, I'm afraid no. I think even for us temple devotees or devotees who are connected to this community, this verse is very, very relevant. Because anxiety is something that is experienced in every situation. And this anxiety of maintaining ourselves is experienced by all devotees, but especially, of course, by grihastas. As a brahmachari, life is quite simple. You might get some anxiety because someone took your gamsha in the morning. That is probably as intense as it gets. But even there we have anxiety. Where should we live? What service should we do? What is my nature? How can I please my spiritual master? Even there could be so much anxiety. But especially when we start to think that we are the maintainer, we are the doer, we are the controller, then this anxiety comes up as a result of the mode of passion. Because we think we are in charge, everything depends on me. So I need to make the best possible arrangement so everything is exactly how I want it to be. And then when things don't work out, I'm in so much anxiety. Dann kommen die großen Sorgen. And when this anxiety comes, it really eats us up from inside. It gives so much disturbance to the mind. We can't think any more clearly. We start to become critical and negative of others. Have you ever noticed this? When we become critical and negative in our mind and we walk through the temple or we walk through wherever we are and this devotee, again in the mode of passion like always. See at this devotee, how he's cooking again. The floor is not clean. We just become negative and negative and negative and negative. Why? Because there's a situation inside of us. Unless, of course, it's our service. When we are the temple commander, we kind of have to look at the faults as well, because we might need to correct them. But still, there's so much good to see. And if we want to have more good, if we want to have more positive inspiration, if we want to have more divine intervention, then we need to have a divine vision. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, it is offensive if we don't become happy when we see another Vaishnava devotee. So I don't know about you, but I'm offensive every day. So we have to correct this mentality. And this mentality comes, this anxiety comes especially when we are not engaged joyfully in our devotional service. Because, I don't know if you knew this, but Krishna says something very interesting in Bhagavad Gita. I'm going to read this to you now. It's a verse that you probably even know by heart, but I'm very conditioned, so I'm going to read it here. Raja Vidya Rajaguyam Pavitram Itamutamam Pratyakshavagamam Damyam Susukam Katumafyayam. This knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting, and it is joyfully performed. So this is Bhagavad Gita 9.2. So it is joyfully performed. Devotional service, Krishna consciousness, is meant to be joyfully performed. And there's one more thing I would like to point out in this verse, but I'm going to share something with you. This happened on Wednesday when I was doing my Pujari service here. And as it is when you do engage in service in the temple, you're on certain time restrictions. You can't just, I can't do the arti as long as I want, or I can't roll puris as long as I want. I have a time schedule I have to stick to. So anyway, I was doing all of my services to the Lord and putting Nishingadev to rest. I think it's more that Nishingadev puts me to rest. But we do this service. Some devotees say Nishingadev he never sleeps. But this is our way to engage in a personal relationship with the Lord. So then I was going outside, cleaning everything up. Everything was tidy, everything was neat. I just cleaned the sink, so there were no water rests in the sink, and I was like, okay, very nice. So now I'm just going to go to the temple room, offer some prayers to Srila Prabhupada, and then I'm going home because it's already quite late and I want to get up early and have a nice japa. So then I come in here and I go in front of Srila Prabhupada, and what happened? Prabhupada was still awake. So Prabhupada had not been put to rest, which I had thought the Pujari helper had done. So then one thing happened. My mind was like, getting agitated. Really, I just cleaned everything and now I have to take the cup, and I have to change it, and I have to clean it, and then the sink is again a mess. And then I was like, oh my God, oh no. I'm not really performing devotional service right now. Like, I'm doing something, but it's not devotional service. But before that, I also made sure I took out my phone and I wrote to the Pujari helper, Srila Prabhupada is still awake, question mark. But then I was thinking, oh my God, it took me millions of lifetimes to come to this temple and do this service and to get the honor of putting Srila Prabhupada to rest. And I was like, and then I'm getting agitated. So I was trying to correct my mind. And then I was putting Srila Prabhupada to rest, but still with a little like, ah. And then I took the cup, and for some reason what I did was I just poured the water out and I put new water in. And I forgot to, I didn't fully clean it and polish it. So I came back, I put the cup down and looked at Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada looked quite angry at me. I was like, what happened? And I thought, oh, I didn't clean the cup. And then of course no one was here, I could have just left, who cares, no one is there to watch me. I was thinking, no, I can't do this. So I went back, I took the cup again and cleaned the entire cup, and I filled and I brought it back, and Srila Prabhupada looked more happy. So, because Srila Prabhupada is present according, to our state of surrender, like Nishingadev is present, but it depends how do we approach the Lord. Maybe we don't hear the Lord directly talking to us, but Nishingadev is talking to us. And in the same way, we have to ask ourselves, especially when we live in the temple, and I think it's quite challenging. I offer my humble obeisances to all of you devotees who live here in the temple, because it can be very challenging to remain in this consciousness that we perform devotional service, and that it not just becomes a mechanical task that we do, because that's our service for the day, before we can finally get on with our lives. But you see how this anxiety came? The anxiety came because I'm the doer, I'm the controller, I have my time schedule, I want to be home at this time. Anxiety comes. So if we're not performing devotional service joyfully, and let's be honest, it doesn't happen every time, but then we can at least understand that something is off. There's something that we need to correct. Some opportunity to go deeper, some opportunity to really ask ourselves, how come that my heart is not fully involved? How come that I'm not full of inspiration? Something is not quite right here. And then we immediately need to correct this mentality. And of course, this is also coming down to the point that we really, really need to see Krishna in everything. If we just do this one thing, then our entire spiritual life becomes fully, absolutely transformed. If any situation that happens, this devotee didn't do that service, why is he chanting so loudly? Why is this going on? Or if we see everything as a perfect arrangement of Krishna. And when we see everything as the arrangement of Krishna, Krishna will become present. But if we don't see it as the arrangement of Krishna, Krishna is not going to become present. Because we have a materialistic mentality. So I'm going to share something again, because I think this is going to make it more relevant maybe to you. I was in a situation just yesterday. It was very intense. My mind gave me lots of troubles. And of course, I can look at my chart and say it's because of this planet or because of that planet or whatever is going on. But I was thinking, no, I'm not going to do this. And then I can say, okay, because I studied some psychology, I can check what's going on internally. Maybe my inner child is not taken care of. And I thought, no, I'm also not going to do this today. So, but because my mind was so disturbed yesterday, because of a decision I have to make, because of some decisions I have to make that are quite important, I was like so disturbed that I was lying in front of my altar, and I have a a little but quite powerful Srila there. So I was lying down there and I was like, Krishna, I'm losing my mind. I'm going crazy here. Like, my mind is going upside and down. I don't know what to do. Like, it's accepting and rejecting and accepting and rejecting, and it's changing every day, and I'm going crazy here. But I was trying to go in front of the Lord and say, okay, maybe I cannot fully surrender, but I'm really trying to just take shelter in you right now. I'm trying not to distract myself with some YouTube video or with some other thing. I'm really trying to take shelter in you. And then I was also, writing to one devotee, one of my teachers. And then I was like finding some more peace in my heart, and some realization came. And I was thinking, oh, this is already very nice. And then I was taking my laptop, and I just had muted my laptop. I had some japa recording on that was playing, and I just muted it. And then, for some reason, I just at that time unmuted it. And suddenly, very loudly, the voice of my spiritual master came. He gave me a very direct instruction. Like, he said a sentence, he probably just says, and he has thousands of classes, he probably says the specific sentence just one time. And it was in that specific class. It was not very indirect. It was very, 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 like, directly to my situation, answering this burning question that I have since a long time, since many years, directly. And then I was like, I was overwhelmed because of course the mind comes, but this is obviously the arrangement of the Lord. And I was feeling a lot of gratitude, and I was feeling many things. And I was thinking, how did this happen? Why today? Why did this answer come today and in such a special way? And then also my teacher wrote me a message that just confirmed this independently of that. And I was thinking it's because Krishna was trying to teach me two things. One is to really just take shelter in him, nothing else, and also to grow up. To grow up. Because Krishna consciousness doesn't mean that, oh, maybe I should do this, or maybe I should do that, or maybe I should ask this devotee and that devotee and that devotee, and maybe I should read this book and that book. But sometimes we also have to take responsibility and make a choice. And this happens when we really try to see Krishna in every situation. And of course, this was one of 1,000 times, and the other 999 times I failed. But the point is, each time when we sincerely try, Krishna will reciprocate. But when we try to see something else in the situation, it's my karma, it's some planets, it's some this, it's some that, then Krishna is like, okay, fine. Yes, Mercury retrograde. Okay, please look at it in this way. And it's a real thing, it's happening. It's not like this is going on, planets are influencing us. But what if we just see Krishna in that situation? What if I don't, okay, the Pujari helper didn't come, but why don't I just see Krishna in that situation? Krishna wants me to do more service. Prabhupada wants me to have this intimate service of putting him to rest because he wants that I'm engaged in his service. Do I see this or do I see something else? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. And if we don't see Krishna, this anxiety will increase and increase and build up more and more and more. But if we follow this joy in our heart, and then I hope and I'm sure we all have experienced this joy in our heart when we performed devotional service. When we follow this joy, then it becomes very easy to see Krishna. And Krishna says something else. He says something else about, first of all, he says in the second chapter, how can there be any happiness if there's not any peace? And Krishna also says, for the doubting soul, there's not happiness in this life nor in the next. And then he also says how we can actually be really happy in Krishna consciousness as a community. In the Chatushloki, the four most essential verses of the Bhagavad Gita, which are where? Which are the verses? Chatur Shloki? I know it's early in the morning. So it's 10:8 to 10:11. These are the most important verses of Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna says, Machita matkata prana bodhayanta parasparam katayantas chamam nityam tushanti cha ramanti cha. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service. And now listen. They derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one and another and conversing about me. So where comes the joy for the devotee, especially, in association? By conversing and enlightening one another about Krishna. So also, if we're not joyful in Krishna consciousness, if everything has become dry, if we are feeling stressed and anxious, then we have to ask ourselves, what kind of quality association do I have? How much are my conversations centered around genuinely uplifting each other, elevating each other? How much are they about the good that is going on in our community? I was noticing this. I was talking to one devotee and I was saying, what if we just would do things a little different and do it like this or like that? But I was seeing, I'm not going very far with this strategy. But when I point out what is good, what is already flourishing, if we fan the spark, so much positive transformation can actually happen. And it's of vital importance that we associate with devotees that have this positive, enlivened mentality, that see the good, that see Krishna, that want to move forward, that say, yes, this is so, so important. And of course, how we also get free from this anxiety that is mentioned in this verse is by, and this is another interesting thing, Gajendra. You all know the pastime of Gajendra? Please put your hand up if you know the pastime. Good, okay. So Gajendra, it's a pastime in the 8th canto. So now I hope I remember the entire pastime. So Gajendra was a king in the heavenly planets, an elephant king. So elephants in the heavenly kingdoms, they are 10,000 times stronger than on this planet. Imagine. I don't know if you have ever seen an elephant. They can, they can destroy entire villages, especially the male elephant. When they, Jai Nishingadev Bhagavan Ki, they can really destroy entire villages. I mean, they are intense. So Gajendra was 10,000 times stronger in the heavenly kingdom, and he was enjoying with his family and his wife and his children, and he was feeling very proud and very, very good about himself and about his life. And then he was coming to this beautiful lake. And in this lake, he thought, let me go inside and take a bath. Wonderful. And as he was taking a bath, suddenly a crocodile came. And it was holding on to his feet. I don't know if you've ever seen a crocodile taking its prey. It comes out, it takes the prey and takes it inside the water. So in this way, Gajendra started to fight with this crocodile. But Gajendra didn't have a chance. And why was that so? Any idea? Why Gajendra was... Yes, please, yeah. Very, very good. Very nice point, exactly. Gajendra was not in his element. He was inside the water, but he is a king of the jungle, a king of the land. But now he met its equal, the crocodile, who's the king of the water. So he was suffering and suffering, and he realized, my wife, my children, they cannot help me. They're just outside and they are crying for me, but they cannot help me. I'm all by myself. So as he was suffering, suddenly he remembered a prayer from a previous lifetime, because he had been a very powerful king in Tradumnia Maharaj. And because of some offense, he had taken birth as this elephant. But suddenly he remembered this prayer. And then he surrendered to this Lord, to the Lord of his heart. And this is in Srimad Bhagavatam, the 10th canto. If a devotee goes through the suffering of his life, but in his heart he offers his obeisances to the Lord, then liberation is his rightful claim. But this doesn't talk about frustration. This is a very subtle but important point. It's not like, this is all nonsense. I can't wait to get back to the spiritual world. You've ever felt like this? That life is just so frustrating. I can't wait to go back to the spiritual world. But this is not Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is, it doesn't matter whether I serve here or in hell or anywhere, because the Lord is always with me in my heart. So only if we go through the sufferings of life and we accept them as our heart, yes, my Lord, if you want me to suffer, I suffer. If you want me to live, I live. If you want me to die, I die. If we are in this state of consciousness, humbly surrendering to the Lord in our heart, Trinada Pisunishinata Roi Vasahishnana Amanina Madina Kirtaniya Sadahari. We offer our obeisances to others, more humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree. Then liberation is our rightful claim. And then the Lord becomes present in our heart. So in the same way, Gajendra was not just being frustrated with his life and then saying, now because I'm so frustrated, let me go back to Godhead, because this is just, I'm dying here, this is just, I'm in pain. This is not, no. Because he was suffering so much, all his offensive mentality, all of his anarthas were burned off, until his heart became so pure that he could again remember his previous birth and that prayer. And then of course Krishna came and delivered him. Gajendra was offering a lotus flower, holding it up to the sky, praying to the Lord, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and he was offering some prayers, very beautiful in Bhagavatam. And then the Lord came and delivered him. So, very important for us that even when we go through intensity, and life is intense, at least for me, maybe not for you, but for me, I find life can be very intense. Life in the temple can be very intense, but only when we are in the spirit of accepting and offering our humble obeisances at the same time to the Lord, can we really, really make spiritual advancement. And also what we have to understand, Gajendra was not in his element. And Srila Prabhupada writes in this purport, and I recommend that you all read this purport. It's very, very, very important. I don't know the exact verse, but if you read this chapter of Gajendra, it's one of the first chapters of the 8th canto. Srila Prabhupada writes, it is very important that the members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness situate themselves properly in the right ashram, in the right situation, because there's the saying, how's the saying going? There's the saying, what is poison for someone is there's a saying like that what is bad for someone can be the best for another. So my point is, you have to really understand, how can I best situate myself? How can I put myself in a situation of strength? And Krishna consciousness is not just performing tasks from morning till evening, although there might be so much pressure on us to do so. Krishna consciousness, the priority is, and I was reading this beautiful quote yesterday of Prabhupada, and I think I didn't write down from where it is, but Prabhupada said, first comes meditation and then comes devotional service. So only if our japa is very deep and very absorbed can we actually really perform devotional service. If our japa is spaced out, you ever chanted spaced out japa? I certainly did. Our japa is telling us exactly where we are at in our Krishna consciousness. Are we able to sit down and chant the holy name with taste, or are we sitting down and thinking, oh my God, 60 more rounds to go? And you have to understand, sometimes we feel like this because we are tired, because we are exhausted, because we didn't take care of ourselves, and then we don't have any energy left, and then we are meant to chant the holy name, and then of course, what can we do? So, therefore, if we can somehow or other, the most important activity for a devotee is to chant the holy name attentively, and not just attentively as a mind control, where we chant with so much intensity that, our entire bodies, that's better than falling asleep. But we have to chant it with love. Let's say I call Thakur Haridas. Thakur, come! He will feel like, okay, Sri Gauranga does, okay. Or if I call him with love and devotion, Thakur Haridas, can you please come? I would like to serve you. He would say, oh, this sounds very nice. Let me come. So the same way when we chant the holy name, how are we chanting? What is Krishna going to hear on the other end? How is he going to perceive our chanting? That's the question that we have to ask ourselves. So if we don't chant with any love, with any devotion, then at least we can pray. Because of course not every day we can chant in this state. But we have to ensure that, we make some progress. We have to track our progress in Krishna consciousness. If we are still exactly in the same state of consciousness as we were last year, or even Bhakti Tirtha said the month before or the week before, something is off. Quite intense, huh? If we think, do we make every week progress? I think it's very, very, very elevated. But we have to track our spiritual progress, and we have to ask ourselves, and you will find this, devotees, you will find this, when intensity comes and you take shelter because you had a good japa, an absorbed japa, you have every day you're hearing your spiritual master, you will have the ability to take shelter. Because you will not be able to take shelter if you have a spaced out japa, a spaced out hearing, a spaced out service. Then of course when Maya comes, you will respond with Maya. Oh, it's that devotee's fault. Oh, it's because this planet. Oh, it's because this. Oh, it's because that. Oh, it's because my wife. It's because my husband. It's because... Yes, this is all true. Yes, it's all true. The planets are influencing us. Yes, this devotee didn't perform his service. Yes, your husband or your wife was getting on your case. But have you noticed this when you start to see Krishna in this situation, how everything changes? Your heart becomes peaceful, and even Krishna takes it away because there's no need anymore. Krishna is involved. Krishna only gives us our karma to the extent we need it to become pure. Why did he allow Gajendra, who was such an elevated devotee in his previous life, to get into such a difficult situation? Because Krishna knew that's the way he will come to me. So sometimes Nishingadev needs to give us a slap, left and right, to wake us up. Because I can tell you something, sometimes, when I was still more actively working as a coach, at some point there was a natural transition, taking my clients more into Krishna consciousness. And when were they open for it? When they were suffering like a dog. Then they realized that all these, techniques and psychology and all of these things, they didn't really help them anymore. So then what did they do? Then they were open for this message of Krishna consciousness. But as soon as they were feeling better again, they didn't take so much shelter anymore. And I've seen that in devotees too. When life becomes hard, what do? We try to take shelter if everything goes well, if everything is exactly the way we want it, all devotees glorifying us, all the service is exactly how we want it to be, no one gets on our case, our health is good, everything is perfect. Do we really take shelter? If yes, wonderful. Then Krishna doesn't have to intervene. But until we come to the state of nishta, very unrealistic that this will take place. So therefore we have to ask ourselves, is this my karma or is this Krishna? Is Nishingadev really hearing each prayer I offer? What do you think? Is Krishna hearing your prayers? Are you absolutely convinced Krishna hears your prayers? But have you ever felt Krishna does not answer your prayers? You ever felt like that? I felt like that. But actually Krishna is always answering our prayer. But sometimes we're not ready to hear the answer. It's maybe too painful. Has Krishna ever taken something away from you and it felt like, Krishna, I'm not ready for this. Why? And then later you realized, thank you, Krishna, that you took this away from me. So, our mind is very limited. It always thinks about what gives us some mental satisfaction right now. But we don't think long term. And Krishna really thinks what is best for us long term. Okay. I'm thinking if I should share this. I was very inspired by this Jayadev Goswami's pastime. I heard a pastime. I think his, was it his disappearance day last week? Anyone knows? I think Bhasha Prabhu, he was doing a bhajan evening with songs from Jayadev Goswami. But there's one pastime I feel that really at least touched my heart, and I would like to share this pastime, and then you can all go and take breakfast. And this pastime is so significant because of all the qualities of a devotee. I heard yesterday one devotee saying there's one quality that is most important for a devotee. Of course, I want to ask you now, there can be many qualities, but what do you think? What is one of the most important qualities of a devotee? You can say, there's no right and wrong, you can just, yes, please. Sincerity. Mm-hmm. Humility, yes. Submissiveness. Vaishnavis, you want to mention any, yes? Any quality, yes? Unshakable faith and devotion. So this devotee was saying the most important, one of the ornament of Vaishnava qualities is forgiveness. A Vaishnava is always forgiving. So, and Jayadev Goswami portrayed this and showed this to us in a way that is quite, I think it will blow your mind. So Jayadev Goswami was at this time living very simple, and he had this idea: let me go on pilgrimage and collect some donations for the Lord, so then when I come back I will do a big festival for the pleasure of Radha Madhava, of the Lord of my heart. So sounds like a very, and he was of course a pure Vaishnava, but it sounds like a good thing to do, right? He was not collecting for himself. He wanted to collect donations for the deities to make a big festival. Then he went out, and when he had collected the donations, he was attacked by dacoits and thieves. And they robbed all his money, and they cut his hands and legs open, threw him into a well, and left him to die. Imagine. Now think about this. Imagine you go out on book distribution to distribute Srila Prabhupada's books, and then someone comes, beats you up, takes all the money, takes all the books, takes you, throws you down a cliff, and leaves you to die. What would you do? Would you say, oh, thank you, Krishna, this is wonderful? I mean, I don't know. So, Jayadev Goswami, imagine he was beaten up, his hands and legs were open, he was about to die. And what was he doing? He was raising his arms and he was saying, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. You can chant with me. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. He was chanting for 3 days and nights. He was chanting the holy name from the core of his heart. He didn't have a doubt in his mind. He was just taking shelter of the Lord and he was in ecstasy. And then, of course, the Lord, because why did the Lord do this? To teach us a lesson. Then a king was going out on a hunting journey, to hunt. And then suddenly he heard this chanting and he was like, what is going on? And then he went to this well and then he saw this mendicant in there chanting the holy names in ecstasy, but at the same time he had wounds and he was in a terrible condition. So the king personally helped him out of this well, brought him to his courtyard. He asked his own queen to take care of Jayadev and attend his wounds. And when they started to hear Jayadev Goswami speaking about pure devotional service, they became devotees, they became initiated disciples, and they started preaching Krishna consciousness in the entire kingdom. But the story goes on. You want to hear the rest of the story? Yeah? Okay. Maybe it's okay. No, I will keep telling the story because the most important part comes now. So then, the dacoits disguised themselves as Vaishnavas and came to the kingdom. So imagine, you were out on book distribution, you were beaten up, you were thrown down this cliff, you were there to die, then someone helped you. The mayor of the town came and helped you and was very impressed by you, and he became an initiated devotee from you. And all the town became devotees. And then the same people who came and beat you up come to the town. What would you do? Tell me, what would you do? Nothing? Yes? We can put them into jail. Very good. What else? Come on. You were beaten up by these people. What are you going to do with them? I'm not going to continue telling the story until I hear more honest answers. Okay, let's have everyone say something. Taco, you start. What would you do? I want to hear from you. But would you, so you really don't know what you would do. Okay, now I will ask another one. Now everyone will keep saying the same answer. Okay, Prabhu, what would you do? Inform the king. Okay, Prabhu? Inform the king. Okay, good. Kishori-kun? Okay, invite them to share our happiness with us. Okay. Okay. No? Okay. All right, no problem. It's okay for Vaishnavis to be shy. It's a good quality. So Jayadev Goswami, he he sees these thieves, and what does he do? Let me make sure that he welcomed them. He welcomed them genuinely from his heart, and he made sure that all of their needs were taken care of, that they had the best food, the best arrangements. He introduced them to the king. He made sure that they were taken care of to an extent that you can't even imagine. And the thieves were wondering, what is going on? Because they recognized, of course, Jayadev Goswami. He must not notice us. Maybe he fell to the floor and he got some issue in his brain. He doesn't notice us anymore. Like, what is going on? And then And then as time was going on, and Jayadev Goswami was really from the core of his heart so nice to them, in such a serving and humble mood, they were like, no, something is wrong here. I think he's just trying to play a role, and then when we're not watching, he's gonna get at us. So then they said, okay, best is to leave the kingdom. Let's get out of here before he can get on our case. So then, before they left, Jayadev Goswami was, oh, you're leaving. And then he made sure that the king personally gave them a lot of wealth, jewelries, gems, all kinds of wealth. And personally made sure that the high guard of the king escorted them out of the kingdom. So you think now, okay, at least the thieves should now be like, okay, you know, like they almost killed this guy. And he arranged for them to get wealth, to get glorification, the best of things. You know, you think they should be fine, you know, and just happily go. No. Because they were so envious. They were telling the guards of the king, when they were at the border to leave the king's kingdom, you know, actually, this saint, this Jayadev, actually, we are servants of a king, and this king ordered us to punish Jayadev. Because he's such a thief, because he's so evil-minded, we were supposed to give him capital punishment, to kill him. But then your king came and saved him. So you should be very careful, because he's very evil-minded. Can you imagine? This happens when our heart is infected with enviousness. So then, the earth, is said, can take all kinds of burden. The burden of the ocean, the burden of so many things. But one thing the earth cannot tolerate. Dishonesty, if we're not truthful. And then what happened? Mother Earth could not tolerate that the devotee of the Lord was insulted in such a way. So Mother Earth opened up and swallowed the thieves, one after another. Imagine, you know, the earth opens up and swallows someone in front of you. The king's guards, they were quite like, what is going on here? You know, these soldiers just disappearing in the ground, one after another, until they were all gone. And then they went back to the king and reported to him what has happened. And then Jayadev Goswami told the king the real story, what has actually happened. And the king was like, why didn't you tell me? And Jayadev was saying, because the most important quality of a Vaishnava is forgiveness. Because a Vaishnava knows, if the Lord doesn't want me to get any harm, nothing is going to harm me. He saw the Lord's arrangement in it. And what happened? He turned the king into a devotee. He turned an entire kingdom into Vaishnavas because of this. So when intense situations happen, we never know for what they are good in the end. Are you quite surprised how Jayadev Goswami dealt with the situation? I mean, Kishori Kund, it seems like you have some very powerful Vaishnava qualities because of your response. So I think we all need some, some forgiveness and some more compassionate understanding in our hearts when we are in Vaishnava communities. Because, so many things can go on, and it's very easy to see the faults in others. It's so easy, but it can be so hard to see the good in others. I'm really preaching to myself here because I was really observing myself and my mind, and I felt that, in the last 3 or 4 weeks I had become much more critical, and I realize it's just because I was not happy inside my own heart. When we become critical, negative, it's because we are unhappy. Because why, if we are truly happy, why would we waste even one moment to criticize or insult others? Yeah. And therefore the Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing Bhagavatam, whether it's in the class in the temple or on our own, is really, really important. Like, do we actually see Krishna in the lectures that we're listening to? Or is it just something that we already heard before? So, yeah, I think that's enough. I shared. I think there was a lot in it. Let me see. Yeah, and if you want to check out this verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, where I think Lord Brahma prays, if one suffers the reactions of his past deeds and submissively surrenders unto the Lord, offering obeisances in his heart, liberation has become her or his rightful claim. It's 10:14:8, if anyone wants to check out this verse. Okay, so maybe we can open up for some questions. What was it, a question? Oh yeah, someone can give Prabhu a mic? Yeah, I think. Yeah, maybe because. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you very much for the very lovely class. Just a question with regard to the example set by Sriman Jayadev. And how do we reconcile that example with the instruction that the Shastric injunction, really, that we shouldn't give milk to the envious, and that we shouldn't associate with the envious, because really it just empowers them to become more poisonous. So that's essentially my question. Because if Jayadev had not... Yeah, so anyway, you get where I'm going.
Yes, so a very good question. I mean, also, again, because we're living in very sensitive times, especially in our movement right now, this doesn't mean we should tolerate abuse, and that's the instruction. But Jayadev Goswami was not taking association, he was giving association. So we really have to understand our level of advancement. Jayadev Goswami was a pure devotee of the Lord, and he could see all of this as the arrangement of the Lord. Like, he knew the fact that these thieves had come back in the dress of Vaishnavas was an arrangement of the Lord. And he, with the internal inspiration in his heart, knew exactly how to deal with the situation. But in general, you're of course right. If we explain this knowledge to the envious, who then start criticizing our movement, especially the more confidential aspects, you're right, this is not okay. So, so I think it's a very special lesson to teach us forgiveness. But we also see, if our heart is really pure, if our intention is really pure, Krishna will always save us and be there for us and recognize us. And this also, like, once one devotee came to my spiritual master and he was complaining about this devotee, and he was really doing horrible things, actually. Horrible things. And my spiritual master could see that he's quite advanced, and he told him, I want you to serve this devotee, and I want you to serve him so nicely that even if he tries his best, he's not going to be able to find any fault in you. So he was like, why can't he just tell me something else? So he was serving him in this humble way, and then after he did that for some time, there was a huge scandal in the community, and this devotee actually had to resign. Like, no, he not had to resign, he resigned by himself. Do you get my point? Because,
yeah, and if I could add to that, it seems to be that they're also exemplifying having greater faith in Krishna, that Krishna will alter. So they're actually taking more shelter of Krishna to resolve the situation, which is very instructional, because if we find ourselves in a situation with difficulty with an authority or something we can't change,
Yes.
then we have to have faith that Krishna will eventually iron it out, which is often the case. I'm sure you
Yes.
have your own experiences, Prabhu, in that regard.
Yes. However, it's also true that if we cannot surrender with faith and we just keep tolerating and tolerating and tolerating, it's also not so good. So if we don't have this ability to surrender at that time, it's maybe better to go to another senior devotee and reveal our hearts and be honest about it, rather than to pretend that we see Krishna in the situation and we actually don't. Because that can also end up in devotees leaving Vaishnava Sangha and being resentful and all of this. So my point is, the highest revelation Jayadev Goswami has given, but then also we have to understand how far are we in our journey. You know what I mean? Can we really see Krishna in this situation? If yes, wonderful. But if we can't, then, sometimes it's best we reveal our heart to someone, or we make a different arrangement in our life.
Yes, and it seems to be that if we're striving for advancement really is that discernment, that Krishna conscious ability to discern and make decisions on how best to act. And
yes.
that's what's so amazing about Srila Prabhupada, is that they could never tell how he was going to respond. They could never even though they'd been around him for years, they'd go in to see Prabhupada and they'd think, oh, he's definitely going to condemn this, and it'd be the opposite, it would be this or that. And most of the time that was mainly due to the personality that he was dealing with.
Yes.
So and I think that's maybe want to add a cautionary bit to the idea of, well, if we're pure, but I mean, what's pure? If we're in ignorance, then we don't know what's pure in a way, isn't it? So it's that what we want to strive for is that intelligence. If we don't have the intelligence, then we have to consult senior devotees. And we have to have the humility to do that too.
Yes.
It's not always easy if it's an awkward situation.
Yes, of course. And at the same time, we can always try our best to practice to see Krishna in the situation. Because that's the truth. No matter what happens to us. That's ultimately the truth. And this is so nice, because Satchidananda Swami was sharing this pastime. There was a sage and he was asked, now I have to make sure I get it right. How can we become enlightened? And the sage said, by making good choices. And then, the disciple was asking the saint, but how can we make good choices? And the saint was saying, through experience. And then the disciple was saying, but how do we get experience? And then the saint was saying, bad choices. Yeah, you follow? So as a devotee, sometimes we also have to make, Krishna will put us in certain situations and allow us to make maybe a bad choice to learn something. Because it is mentioned that this material world is good for one thing, which is the experiences that we can get to really understand what this world is about. But your point is absolutely right. I mean, always as Vaishnavas, we are under the shelter of senior devotees. At least one senior devotee should be there who we can open our heart to and who can give us guidance. So, yeah. Okay, was there another hand up? Oh, yeah. I think Thakur was first and then Ramananda. Or, I mean, as you like.
Please give it to Thakur. I just wanted to ask, where is the story of Jayadev?
I don't know where it's from, but my spiritual master was reciting it in a lecture. So if you write to me on Telegram, I can send you the lecture, and it has the pastime. But I would need to research where it is exactly from.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Ramananda? Prabhu?
Hare Krishna. So thank you for this very touching class again. One thought of for the discussion with Janata and Hari Prabhu. From my own experience, is always when we come in difficult situations where we don't know how to act. Always have a prayer and ask Krishna to help us. And this, for me, it works always, because then really I can make amazing decisions or amazing actions somehow. If I put myself as some sort of surrender. And my question to another point is, and therefore I want to go to the very beginning of your class, your story, because I can relate to this story. Of course, you come out, but it's not the rest, and exactly also with the sink, I cleaned already everything, and then now you have to do it again. So it's kind of a test what Krishna Nrsingadev liked to play out on his pujaris, I think, maybe. And I know also exactly when I think, oh come on, I go the easy way, and then you have the feeling in your heart, no, it cannot be the easy way. I really have to pour the water again out, try it and clean it, and then clean the thing again, and then the universe smiles again in this situation, Srila Prabhupada. But then you made a point as well, where you said it's all on our chanting, right? That we can see where we are.
Not all, but yeah.
And for sometimes for myself, because I'm tired, because I didn't take care of myself, my rounds sometimes a little bit spaced out. And I'm really on the verge of sleep, but I know I cannot fall asleep, because then otherwise when I will chant my rounds. So somehow or other I push myself through the 16 rounds, although I know it's very crap rounds. So, but then you say, self-care, and then, for example, facing situations like you faced with the cup of Srila Prabhupada, or putting him to rest. In my situation, it always crashes. Because there's one situation, and maybe another devotee spaced something out, or was neglectful of something, and I think, I cannot leave it like that. I have to do it, otherwise, because Krishna put it in front of my face, so now it's my choice how to respond to the situation. But then the next time I know, because of that, I will some other service what was very personal to me, like chanting japa, will suffer.
Yeah.
So what is then the right choice to do?
I mean, you are way more senior than me, so feel it. So what can I say? But I was thinking about a few things. First of all, with japa, I also know in my life that it's not always it doesn't always happen the way I want it to happen. But I also know that I have to make a choice. What is my priority? And I try. I don't always manage, but I try to make japa my priority, because for me it gives me the most in my Krishna consciousness. So maybe for you as a pujari, your kirtan is the puja that you do in the morning. That's your kirtan. But for me, and the way how I was trained in my Krishna consciousness, it has always been the japa. And there's this interesting pastime of an Indra Prabhu that one sannyasi told me. So one day the sannyasi was temple president, and he vielleicht sage ich das, du musst jetzt gehen, ne? Dann sage ich das vielleicht gerade auf Deutsch, and someone has to tell you afterwards. You can go if you have to take breakfast. Aber die Pastime war Indra Prabhu. You understand a little German maybe? Also der Indra Prabhu, nochmal, der Sannyasi war Tempelpräsident und hat seinen Pujaris die Anweisung gegeben, also in dieser Geschichte, dass sie ihre Japa chanten müssen, bevor sie die Detis anziehen. Und das ist heftig, also wenn ihr mal überlegt. Also das heißt, man muss dann, keine Ahnung, wann, um 2 Uhr aufstehen oder so. Also es ist schon Das ist schon eine harte Anweisung. Jedenfalls. Und ich weiß, dass Ramananda auch sehr, sehr früh aufsteht. Sehr, 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 sehr früh. Und sein Puja macht. Das ist dann wahrscheinlich ja deine Japa, dein Puja bei deinen Detis zu Hause. Und dann fingen die Pujaris an, erst ihre Japa zu chanten und dann die Detis anzuziehen. Und dann kam der erste Morgen, wo sie das gemacht haben. Und dann stand dieser Tempelpräsident, der Sannyasi, stand vor dem Altar und auf einmal kommt der Indra Prabhu an. Mit einer gewissen Intensität und schaut den Tempelpräsident an. Who dressed the deities today? Und der Tempelpräsident dachte, okay, das war's jetzt. Das ist mein Ende. Jetzt ist es vorbei. Und dann musste er beantworten und hinter sich war der Pujari, der schon komplett in dieser Haltung war. Oje, oje. Und der Tempelpräsident sagte, this Brahmachari dressed the deities. Und der Indra Prabhu, go out of the way, und hat ihn dann so zur Seite, den Tempelpräsidenten zur Seite weggedrückt, schaut den Pujari an und bringt seine Ehrerbietungen dar, fällt flach auf den Boden und bringt seine Ehrerbietungen dar und fasst seine Füße an. Und weil er sehen konnte, dass der Pujari, weil er extra ein bisschen früher aufgestanden war und nicht direkt von der Dusche quasi auf den Altar, sondern so wie Ramananda das macht, er ist früher aufgestanden und hat vorher noch Sadhana gemacht, die Detis besonders schön auswahlen. Also das ist mir gerade eingefallen. Also ja, ich meine, du inspirierst uns alle mit deinem Service und du stehst extra früh auf und du machst deinen Service zu Hause. Also ich denke, das ist das, was dir Kraft gibt. Und für mich ist das die Japa. Und ich denke halt, weil die Japa halt auch die Art ist, wo später alles offenbart wird. Unser Svarup, die Qualitäten von Krishna, die spirituelle Welt, alles ist im heiligen Namen. Und deswegen denke ich halt, dass es so wichtig ist. Und mit der Situation im Service hatte ich noch eine Erkenntnis. Weil im Tempel ist es halt oft in Kindergarten. Ja? You understand? Kindergarten. Ja, sometimes der Tempel kann eine Einladung sein, einfach nicht mal nachzudenken, weil es gibt ja ein paar Mamas und Papas hier, die sich um alles kümmern und ich lasse mich einfach mal hier treiben. Aber ich habe auch gedacht, dass, das beobachte ich selbst, dass ich überlegen muss, wie viel Dosis an Service kann ich im Tempel machen. Bei mir ist aufgefallen, das ist quite limitiert. Weil irgendwann werde ich sehr frustriert und irgendwann werde ich aber das kann manchmal auch ein Zeichen dafür sein, dass man nicht richtig in seinem Element ist. Wenn man regelmäßig frustriert ist von seinem Service, regelmäßig gestresst ist, dann ist das manchmal ein Zeichen, dass man äußere Dinge ändern muss. Und zum Beispiel, ich habe mir gedacht, ich nehme das einfach auch als ein Zeichen, dass ich diesen Service das nächste Mal mit meiner Frau gemeinsam mache. Weil dann habe ich mehr Zeit für Nishingadev auf dem Altar, mehr Qualitätszeit und das passt so. Also ich glaube schon, dass man da auch äußere Änderungen machen muss, Ramananda, mit deiner Frage. Das ist meine Beobachtung. Weil ansonsten im Tempel wird es immer die 2, 3 Devotees geben, die, wie soll man sagen, alles zusammenhalten. Und aber du wirst das sehr viel besser wissen, weil du hier seit 16 Jahren dienst und ich bin mal gerade 2 Jahre hier, also was soll ich dir sagen? Kann dir nicht viel dazu sagen.
Es gibt ja 5 Arten von hingebungsvollen Dienst.
Ja, genau.
Also
Japa.
Krishna und Deity Worship.
Ja. Und man muss das finden, was sein Herz am meisten berührt. Okay, so, ich denke, es ist jetzt Zeit für Prasadam, schon lange. Bitte vergebt mir, wenn ich irgendwas gesagt habe, das euch irgendwie verletzt hat oder irgendwas, was nicht voll in Alignment mit den Shastra war. Bitte betet für mich, dass ich hier weiter dienen kann und wünsche euch einen wunderbaren, Krishna-bewussten Tag. Hare Krishna.
Ja, echt mal.
weiß nicht, bei dir ist das, ne? Du machst zum Beispiel, ich tue immer, bevor ich meinen Shila Puja mache, will ich immer erst chanten. Das ist irgendwie, bei mir ist das irgendwie so.
Ja, das war mein in Leipzig. Oder ich habe es eigentlich auch hier noch, ich bin um 2 aufgestanden, als Brahmacharya um 2 aufgestanden und hat gechantet, weißt du, auf Runden von der Weg. Und nach dem Morgen, also habe ich halt um 4 dann irgendwie die Dailies aufgeweckt, um 3 war ich fertig, um 4 habe ich die Dailies aufgeweckt in Leipzig, war ja alles simpler. Und dann danach habe ich halt Giriraj verehrt und war ungefähr vom Daily Quitting fertig, habe den Alter noch geschmeckt und dann habe ich 8 Runden über den Tag gechantet irgendwie. Und ja, also ich habe auch manchmal, weil vor der Mangelati ist auf alle Fälle gut, die goldenen Runden. Ne?
Bin ich weit entfernt. Du machst ja jetzt deinen Pujas aus.
Aber das ist es halt, was mich wirklich am meisten.
Ja, man muss irgendwie das machen, was seinem Herzen ein bisschen folgt, oder?
Das erfüllt mein Herz. Ja. Also das ist wirklich, wo ich halt wirklich über meine Swarup meditieren testen kann und so eine Sachen halt irgendwie machen kann.
Ja.
Aber ich verstehe, dass das Chanten ist meine Pflicht. Für mich die Puja ist eine Kür und das Chanten ist die Pflicht. Und deswegen nehme ich meistens, gehe ich jetzt hier im Tempelraum einmal chillen, nachdem ich mich ausgeruht habe. Und
Ja, aber es
immer
ist ja
ein Baby von mir mit oder so.
Ja.
So, weil wenn ich über den Tag in meinen nahen Computer und Telefon sitze,
das kennen wir alle, was das für ein Job ist.
ja, das ruft. Und vor allem, wenn ich müde bin, dann sagt er, ja, komm, du musst einfach.
Ja, aber das ist ja klar. Wenn du müde bist, dann ist der Geist agitiert. Und bei jedem Service.
Ja.
Ja. Ja. Danke für deine Meinung. Ja.
Also dann zum Frühstück, Kinder macht das hier aus. Wer muss jetzt machen? Sri Gauranga. Ich meine Verzug hier, oder?
Warte mal.